Listen, this one hits different. You'll understand why. Prologue. I woke up in a hospital bed with a diamond ring on my finger and a man calling me his Luna. The ceiling was white. Too white. Sterile and blank, like someone had wiped it clean of everything, including memories. My head felt heavy, stuffed with cotton and fog. I tried to lift my hand to my face, and that's when I saw it. The ring. Platinum band twisted around a diamond so large it caught the fluorescent light and threw rainbows across the white sheets. It was beautiful. It was expensive. It was completely unfamiliar. Serafina. The voice came from my left, rough with exhaustion and relief. I turned my head, moving slowly because everything hurt, and found a man sitting in a chair pulled close to the bed. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles shadowed eyes that were the color of amber, and stubble covered a jaw that was too sharp, too perfect, carved from stone and suffering. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things are beautiful. Powerful shoulders barely contained by a black shirt. Hands that could break bones gripping the armrests of his chair like he was holding himself back from reaching for me. "Who are you?" I whispered. My voice came out hoarse, unfamiliar. Pain flashed across his face so raw it made my chest tighten. "It's me," he said softly. "It's Damon. Your mate." Mate. The word should have meant something. Should have sparked recognition, ignited some instinctive response in my chest, in my wolf. But I felt nothing. Just confusion and a growing sense of wrongness that crawled under my skin like insects. "I don't." I started, then stopped. Didn't what? Know him? Remember him? Feel anything when I looked at him except a stranger's face? "The doctors said this might happen," Damon said, and he was trying to keep his voice steady, but I could hear it cracking at the edges. "You've been in a coma for 3 weeks. There was an accident during combat training. You hit your head. They said you might have some memory loss, but it's temporary. You'll remember. You'll remember everything. 3 weeks. Combat training. Memory loss." The words floated around me like debris in water, nothing to anchor them to. I tried to reach for my wolf, that constant presence that every shifter carried inside them, the other half of our soul. But when I reached inward, I found only silence. She was there, I could feel her, but she was distant. Withdrawn. Like she was hiding from something. "Where am I?" I asked. "Cresthowl Medical Center," Damon said. "In our territory. Home. Our territory. Home." More words that meant nothing. A knock at the door made us both turn. A doctor entered, middle-aged with kind eyes and graying hair. "Alpha Damon," she said, nodding respectfully. Then to me, "Luna Serafina. It's wonderful to see you awake. How are you feeling?" Luna. That meant queen. Leader. Important. I didn't feel important. I felt empty. Confused, I said honestly. The doctor approached with a small flashlight, checking my pupils. "That's completely normal given the trauma. Your brain has been through a significant shock. Some memory loss is expected, but we're confident it will return with time and rest." "How much did I lose?" I asked. The doctor and Damon exchanged a look that made my stomach drop. "What do you remember?" the doctor asked carefully. I searched my mind, diving past the fog and cotton, looking for anything solid. Any memory, any fragment of who I was supposed to be. Nothing. "I don't remember anything," I whispered. The panic was rising now, cold and sharp. "I don't remember this place. I don't remember him." I gestured to Damon, saw him flinch like I'd struck him. "I don't remember my own name." "It's temporary," the doctor said quickly, firmly. "Retrograde amnesia from the head trauma. Your memories are still there, Serafina. Your brain just needs time to access them again. We'll do everything we can to help you recover." But I saw the uncertainty in her eyes. The worry. Damon stood, moving to the bedside. He reached for my hand, then stopped himself. "May I?" he asked. I nodded, not knowing what else to do. His hand closed around mine, warm and calloused and strong. I waited for something. Some spark of recognition. The mate bond everyone talked about, The connection that was supposed to be undeniable, unbreakable. Nothing came. Just the feel of a stranger's hand holding mine. I know this is terrifying, Damon said, and his voice was breaking now, no hiding it. I know you don't remember me. But I remember you. I remember everything. And I'm going to help you find your way back. I promise. He looked at me with such desperate love, such devastating hope, that I felt guilty for not feeling it back. There's one more thing, Damon said quietly. He glanced at the doctor, who nodded and slipped out of the room, leaving us alone. Something that might help you remember. Someone. Before I could ask, the door opened again. A little boy ran into the room, maybe 4 years old, with dark curls and amber eyes that were identical to Damon's. He stopped at the foot of the bed, suddenly shy, his small hands twisting in his shirt. "Mama," he whispered. The world tilted. "This is Ash," Damon said softly. "Our son. He's been waiting for you to wake up." I stared at the child. At this small person who was looking at me with such hope and fear and desperate need. My son. This was supposed to be my son. I felt nothing. No maternal warmth. No rush of protective instinct. No memory of holding him as a baby, teaching him to walk, kissing scraped knees. Just a stranger in a child's body calling me Mama. "Hi, Ash," I managed, my voice barely working. His face crumpled. "You don't remember me either," he said, and started to cry. Damon scooped him up immediately, murmuring comfort, but the boy's sobs echoed in my chest like an accusation. I'd lost everything. My memories. My mate. My child. I'd lost myself. And looking at Damon's face, at the desperation and grief and something else I couldn't name, I wondered if I'd ever really had any of it to begin with. Don't forget to drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in New York, midnight in Toronto, afternoon in Manila, or evening in London, I want to know. Now let's continue this story. Chapter 1. The Life I Don't Remember. They released me from the medical center 2 days later with instructions to rest, avoid stress, and let my memories return naturally. As if memories were obedient things that came when called. Damon drove us home in a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. Ash sat in the back in his car seat, chattering about his toys and his friends and things I should apparently know but didn't. I tried to smile and nod in the right places. Every time I met his eyes in the rearview mirror, I saw the confusion there. The hurt. He knew I wasn't really his mother. Not anymore. "We're here," Damon said, pulling through massive iron gates that swung open automatically. The estate took my breath away. It sprawled across what must have been 50 acres, a main house built from stone and timber that looked like something from an architect's fever dream. Modern but rustic. Powerful but elegant. Windows everywhere catching the afternoon sun. "This is home?" I asked. "For the last 5 years," Damon said quietly. "We built it together. You designed most of the interior." I searched for any flicker of recognition. Any sense of ownership or pride or belonging. Nothing. Staff waited at the entrance, a small group of people in casual but professional attire. They bowed their heads as we approached. "Welcome home, Luna," an older woman said warmly. She had kind eyes and grey hair pulled back in a neat bun. "We're so relieved you're well." "Thank you," I said, because what else could I say? Damon led me inside, Ash holding his hand and shooting worried glances at me. The interior was stunning, all natural wood and stone and huge windows overlooking the forest. It should have felt warm, welcoming. It felt like a museum dedicated to someone else's life. "Your studio is upstairs," Damon said, gesturing to a curved staircase. "You spent hours there painting. And the library is through there." He pointed to a set of double doors. "You loved to read there in the afternoons." I nodded, trying to absorb it all, trying to feel something other than this overwhelming sense of wrongness. "I'm tired," I said finally. "Can I rest?" "Of course." Damon's face fell slightly, but he hid it quickly. "I'll show you to our room." "Our room." The words made my stomach clench. He noticed my expression. "I can sleep in the guest room," he said quickly. Until you're comfortable. I don't want to pressure you. The relief must have shown on my face because he looked away, jaw tight. The master bedroom was enormous, dominated by a king-size bed with soft grey linens. More windows overlooking the forest. A sitting area with 2 chairs and a fireplace. Doors leading to what I assumed were a bathroom and closet. Everything you need should be here, Damon said. But if you need anything at all, just ask. I'll be downstairs with Ash. He left, closing the door softly behind him. I stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by luxury and beauty, and felt completely alone. Then I saw the photographs. They covered one wall, a gallery of frozen moments. Me in a white wedding dress standing beside Damon under an arch of flowers, both of us looking serious and regal. Me pregnant, glowing, Damon's hand on my swollen belly. Me holding a tiny newborn, exhausted but radiant. Ash as a toddler, me and Damon on either side of him, a perfect family. I moved closer, studying my own face in the images. That woman looked happy, confident, like she belonged in this life, in this skin. I touched my reflection in the glass, and the face that looked back was the same but different. Empty eyes instead of bright ones. The closet was a walk-in the size of my hospital room, filled with clothes that screamed expensive taste. Everything in my size, perfectly organized. I ran my hands over soft fabrics, designer labels, shoes that probably cost more than some people's cars. In the back, I found a section that looked different. Older clothes, more worn. A leather jacket that smelled faintly of smoke and pine. Jeans with actual holes that weren't fashionable distressing. These felt more real somehow. I pulled out the jacket and found something in the inner pocket. A folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a letter, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Sarah. I know you're scared. I know this isn't the life you imagined. But you're stronger than you think. You've survived worse than this. You've survived losing everything and everyone. You can survive this too. Remember who you were before. Remember what you fought for. Don't let them make you forget. Trust your instincts. Trust your wolf. She knows the truth even when your mind is clouded. Stay sharp. Stay you. M. I read it 3 times, my heart pounding. Sarah. That was supposed to be my nickname, according to Damon. But this letter felt like a warning, not a love note. Don't let them make you forget implied someone was trying to make me forget. Stay sharp sounded like someone preparing for danger. And who was M? I folded the letter carefully and tucked it back into the jacket pocket. Then I moved to the dresser and started opening drawers. Lingerie, workout clothes, casual wear. Everything normal, everything expected. Until I reached the bottom drawer. It was locked. A locked drawer in my own dresser, in my own bedroom. I searched for a key, checking the top of the dresser, the nightstands, under the mattress. Nothing. The lock was small, delicate. I could probably break it easily. Instead, I went to the bathroom and found a bobby pin in a small ceramic dish by the sink. Old skills, muscle memory I didn't know I had, guided my hands as I picked the lock. It clicked open. Inside were more letters, dozens of them, tied with ribbon. All addressed to Sarah in the same handwriting. I pulled them out with shaking hands and untied the ribbon. The first letter was dated 5 years ago. Sarah. I can't believe you're going through with this. Are you sure this is what you want? You're giving up everything. Your freedom, your identity, your past. Is he really worth it? I know you're dying. I know the silver poisoning is killing you and you're desperate. But there has to be another way. Let me keep looking. Let me find a healer who can help without you having to. The letter cut off mid-sentence, like the writer had been interrupted or couldn't finish the thought. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped the paper. Dying. Silver poisoning. Giving up my identity. What the hell had happened to me? I reached for another letter, this one dated a month later. Sarah. I visited you today. You didn't recognize me. You called security and had me removed. You looked at me like I was a stranger. It worked, Then. The spell. You really don't remember anything. I want to hate you for choosing this. I want to hate him for offering it. But I saw your face before, saw how much pain you were in. Maybe forgetting is easier. Maybe this perfect life he's given you is better than the truth. But I'll keep these letters. Someday, if you ever need to remember, I'll make sure you can. I love you, sister. Even if you don't remember me anymore. Sister. I had a sister. Someone I didn't remember. Someone who tried to stop me from doing. What? What spell? What choice? The bedroom door suddenly felt too far away. The walls too close. I shoved the letters back into the drawer and locked it again, my heart racing. Moved to the window and gripped the sill, trying to breathe. Below, I could see the grounds. Beautiful, maintained, perfect. And guards. Everywhere. Men in casual clothes but with alert postures, earpieces, the subtle bulk of weapons under jackets. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress. And I was either being protected or imprisoned. Maybe both. A knock at the door made me jump. Seraphina. Damon's voice, gentle through the wood. Dinner's ready if you're hungry. I looked at my reflection in the window glass. At the stranger wearing my face. I'll be right down, I called back, and was surprised at how steady my voice sounded. I had questions. So many questions. But looking at those guards, at the locked drawer, at the letters warning me not to forget, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Something was very, very wrong with this perfect life. And until I understood what, I needed to play along. I needed to be Seraphina, the Luna who lost her memories. At least until I could figure out who Ember really was. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Portrait. Dinner was served in a dining room that could seat 20 people but felt empty with just the three of us. Damon sat at the head of the table, me to his right, Ash to his left. The child kept sneaking glances at me between bites of chicken, like he was trying to figure out if I was real. I knew the feeling. The older woman from earlier, her name was Martha, served the meal with quiet efficiency. She smiled at me like we were old friends, and I smiled back like I remembered. Your favorite, Damon said, gesturing to my plate. Herb-crusted chicken with roasted vegetables. You always said Martha made it better than anyone. I took a bite. It was delicious, perfectly seasoned. I waited for some taste memory to trigger recognition. Nothing. It's wonderful, I said to Martha, and she beamed. It's so good to have you back, Luna, she said. The house hasn't been the same without you. After she left, Damon tried to make conversation. Gentle questions about how I was feeling, whether the room was comfortable, if I needed anything. I gave vague answers, watching him carefully. He was trying so hard. Every movement calculated to seem casual, every word chosen to be reassuring. But I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand gripped his fork too tightly. He was afraid of something. Ash, why don't you tell Mama about what you built today? Damon suggested. The boy perked up. I made a fort in my room with all my blanket. And Mr. Whiskers helped. He's my cat. You gave him to me for my birthday. Do you remember? He looked at me with such hope it broke something in my chest. I'm sorry, I said softly. I don't remember yet. But I'd love to see the fort after dinner. His face fell, but he nodded bravely. Okay. The rest of the meal passed in uncomfortable silence. After dinner, I kept my promise and let Ash show me his room. It was exactly what you'd expect for a 4-year-old alpha's son, huge, filled with toys, decorated with forest animals and moons. The blanket fort took up half the room, an impressive engineering feat for someone so small. You helped me build the first one, Ash said quietly, standing beside me. You said every wolf needs a good den. I knelt down to his level. I'm sorry I don't remember. But that sounds like something a good mama would say. Are you still my mama? He asked, and his bottom lip trembled. Even if you don't remember? The question gutted me. This child didn't deserve this confusion, this pain. Whatever had happened to me, whatever I'd chosen or hadn't chosen, he was innocent. I don't know what I am right now, I admitted. But I'm going to try. Is that okay? He thought about it, then nodded. Daddy says you just need time. Your daddy might be right. A orange tabby cat slinked out from under the bed, regarding me with suspicious green eyes. That's Mr. Whiskers, Ash said. He really likes you usually, but I think he's mad you were gone so long. I held out my hand. The cat sniffed it, then hissed and darted back under the bed. Even the cat knew something was wrong. After putting Ash to bed, reading him a story from a book he insisted was my favorite, I returned to the master bedroom. Damon was waiting in the hallway. Thank you, he said. For trying with him. I know this is all overwhelming. He's a sweet kid, I said honestly. He missed you so much. Damon's voice cracked. Every night he'd ask when you were going to wake up. I didn't know what to tell him. We stood there in the hallway, the silence stretching between us like a chasm. I should let you rest, Damon said finally. But before I go, I thought you might want these. He handed me a leather-bound book. Your journal. You've been keeping it for years. I thought maybe reading your own words might help trigger some memories. I took it, the leather warm from his hands. Thank you. Good night, Seraphina. He leaned forward like he might kiss my forehead, then stopped himself. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. I locked the bedroom door behind me and sat on the bed with the journal. My hands shook as I opened it. The first entry was dated 6 years ago. I met someone today. An alpha from the Southern Territories came to our pack for a summit, and the moment our eyes met, I felt something I've never felt before. Power. Recognition. Like he could see straight through all my walls to the broken parts one hide. His name is Damon Cresthowl. He's younger than I expected for an alpha of his standing. Intense. Almost frightening in his intensity. I don't know if I should be excited or terrified. Probably both. I flipped through pages, reading entries about a courtship that seemed passionate but complicated. Political concerns. Pack dynamics. Her fears about being good enough to be his Luna. Then, 3 years ago, the wedding. I married Damon today. I'm a Luna now. I keep waiting to feel different, transformed, but I just feel scared. What if I'm not strong enough for this? What if I fail him? What if I fail the pack? But when he looks at me, when he touches me, I feel like maybe I can be whoever he needs me to be. The writing grew more confident over time. Entries about pack business, about learning to lead, about discovering she was pregnant. The joy practically radiated off the pages. Then Ash's birth. His perfect. Tiny and perfect and mine. Damon cried when he held him. I've never seen him cry before. We named him Ashton, after Damon's father. Ash for short. I never knew I could love something this much. It's terrifying and beautiful and overwhelming. I would die for this child. I would kill for him. I finally understand what it means to be a mother. My throat tightened reading those words. That woman had loved her son with a fierce, primal devotion. I felt nothing but guilt. I kept reading, looking for something, anything that seemed off. But the entries were consistent. A woman learning to be a Luna, a wife, a mother. Struggles and triumphs. Doubts and victories. Normal. Everything was so normal. Until 6 months ago. The entries stopped. Just stopped. No final entry. No note about the training accident that had supposedly put me in a coma. Just blank pages after a mundane entry about Ash starting lessons with a new tutor. I flipped to the back of the journal, looking for something the writer might have hidden. There, tucked into the back cover, I found a photograph. It showed me, or someone who looked exactly like me, standing in a forest. But the woman in this photo looked different from the wedding pictures downstairs. Harder. Thinner. Her hair was shorter, messier. She wore the same leather jacket I'd found in the closet, and her eyes held a wildness that was absent from all the other photos I'd seen. On the back, written in different handwriting than the journal, Ember, Northern Territory, 2 weeks before. Before what? I stared at the photo, at this woman who was me but not me. Ember. The name felt strange and familiar at the same time, like a word in a language I used to speak but had forgotten. A soft knock at the door made me jump. Luna. A male voice, unfamiliar. It's Marcus, the beater. I apologize for the late hour, but Alpha Damon asked me to check that you have everything you need. I shoved the photo back into the journal and went to the door, opening it just a crack. A man stood in the hallway, maybe early 30s, with sandy brown hair and sharp blue eyes. He wore casual clothes but carried himself with military precision. I'm fine, thank you, I said. He studied me for a moment too long. You really don't remember anything? The question felt loaded. No. Nothing. Interesting. He glanced down the hallway, then back to me. The doctor said it might be permanent. The memory loss. She said it was temporary. Did she? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Well, I'm sure Alpha Damon will make sure you have the best care available. He's very devoted to you. The way he said devoted made my skin crawl. Is there something else? I asked. Marcus leaned against the doorframe, casual but somehow threatening. Just wanted to say welcome home, Luna. We're all very glad you're back. The pack has been unstable without you. Unstable how? Oh, you know. Rumors. Questions. People wondering if the Alpha can really lead effectively with his mate unconscious. He smiled again, sharp as a knife. But now you're awake. Everything can go back to normal. He pushed off the doorframe. Sleep well, Luna. And if you need anything at all, I'm just down the hall. I've been staying close since the accident. To help Damon with security concerns. He left before I could respond. I closed and locked the door, my heart racing. Something about that conversation felt like a threat disguised as courtesy. I went back to the journal, reading the last few entries before the blank pages. Looking for anything that might explain the wrongness I felt. Then I found it. An entry from 7 months ago, written in handwriting that looked shakier than the others. I had the dream again last night. The one where I'm someone else, living a different life. I'm alone in a forest, running, and I feel free in a way I never feel when I'm awake. No responsibilities. No one depending on me. Just me and my wolf and the wild. I told Damon about it and he said it was just stress. That being Luna is hard and my mind is creating an escape. He's probably right. But it felt so real. And when I woke up, I could have sworn I smelled pine and smoke, like the leather jacket in the back of my closet. The one I don't remember buying. My hands froze on the page. She'd had dreams of being someone else. She'd noticed the jacket too, questioned where it came from. I flipped back through earlier entries, looking for other mentions. Found them scattered throughout the last year. Sometimes I look at my reflection and don't recognize myself. Ash asked me why I smell different sometimes. What does that mean? I found myself in the north wing today with no memory of walking there. Damon says I'm working too hard, need more rest. Martha mentioned a conversation we had last week about redecorating the library. I have no memory of it. Is this normal? Should I see a doctor? She'd been losing time. Losing memories. Questioning her own reality. Just like I was now. The pieces started clicking together in my mind, forming a picture I didn't want to see. What if the woman who wrote this journal wasn't Serafina recovering from an accident? What if she was Ember, slowly being erased and replaced? What if the spell, the transformation, the memory replacement had been happening gradually for years, not all at once? What if I wasn't recovering from memory loss? What if I was waking up? A sound outside the window made me freeze. Movement in the trees beyond the manicured grounds. I moved to the window and looked out. A figure stood at the edge of the forest, barely visible in the moonlight. They were looking up at my window. As I watched, they raised a hand in a gesture that might have been a wave or a warning. Then they melted back into the trees and disappeared. My wolf stirred for the first time since I'd woken up. Not emerging, not speaking, but present. Alert. Afraid. I pulled the curtains closed with shaking hands. Someone was watching the house. Someone who knew which window was mine. Someone who might know the truth about who I really was. I lay in bed for hours, unable to sleep, the journal clutched to my chest like a shield. And in the darkness, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my door. Pacing. Back and forth. Back and forth. Like someone standing guard. Or like someone making sure I didn't try to leave. Chapter 3. The Woman in the Photo. I woke before dawn with a decision already made. I needed answers. Real answers, not the carefully curated version Damon was feeding me. And the only way to get them was to start digging. The house was silent as I dressed in workout clothes from the closet, everything fitting perfectly because of course it did. Everything in this life fit perfectly on the surface. It was what lay underneath that was rotten. I eased the bedroom door open. The hallway was empty, no more pacing footsteps. Maybe I'd imagined them. Maybe paranoia was a side effect of not knowing who you were. Or maybe I'd heard exactly what I thought I'd heard. I made my way downstairs, moving quietly. The house was enormous, and I was supposed to know my way around it, but every turn felt like a guess. Somehow I found the kitchen by following the smell of coffee. Martha was already there, preparing breakfast. "Luna," she startled, nearly dropping a pan. "You're up early. I would have brought breakfast to your room." "I couldn't sleep," I said, which was true. "I thought I'd explore a bit. Try to jog some memories." Her expression softened with sympathy. "Of course. Would you like me to give you a tour? Show you around? Actually, I'd prefer to wander on my own. If that's okay." She hesitated, and I saw the conflict in her face. "The Alpha did say you should rest. Walking around my own house isn't exactly strenuous," I pointed out. "No, of course not. You're right." But she still looked uncertain. "Just, perhaps stay on the main floors. The lower levels are still under renovation." That was a lie. I knew it in my bones, though I couldn't say how. "Of course," I agreed, smiling. "Just the main floors." I took a coffee and left the kitchen, feeling Martha's eyes on my back. The house had a strange layout, sprawling and organic like it had been added onto over time. I found a study lined with books, a sitting room with a massive fireplace, a formal dining room we hadn't used last night. Everything was beautiful, expensive, and utterly soulless. Then I found Damon's office. The door was closed but not locked. I glanced around, saw no one, and slipped inside. Unlike the rest of the house, this room felt lived in. Papers scattered across a massive desk, books stacked on every surface, the lingering scent of Damon's cologne mixing with leather and old wood. I started with the desk drawers. Files on pack business, financial documents, letters from other alphas. Nothing personal. Nothing that explained the wrongness I felt. Then I saw the locked cabinet against the far wall. My fingers itched. The same instinct that had known how to pick the lock on my dresser drawer was screaming at me to open this one. I found a letter opener on the desk and went to work. The lock was better than the dresser, but not by much. It clicked open after 2 minutes of careful manipulation. Inside were more files, but these were different. Medical records. Reports from healers. And photographs. So many photographs. I pulled out the first stack with shaking hands. They showed me, or someone who looked like me, in various locations. Candid shots, taken from a distance. The woman was thinner than I was now, with shorter hair and hard eyes. She wore the leather jacket in most of them. Each photo was labeled with a date and location. Northern Territory. 6 months ago. Border Patrol Station. 5 months ago. Marketplace in Ravenclaw Pack. 4 months ago. Someone had been following her. Following me. Following. Ember. I kept digging and found a folder labeled Project Seraphina. My blood ran cold. Inside was a report written in clinical, detached language. Subject identified as viable candidate based on physical similarity and lack of pack affiliation. Genetic markers indicate compatibility for memory transfer ritual. Subject's isolated state and deteriorating health make her ideal for acquisition and conditioning. Initial contact established through humanitarian intervention. Subject was suffering from advanced silver poisoning and had approximately 3 to 4 weeks until fatal organ failure. Presented with choice, death or service as lunar replacement. Subject agreed to trial period. Memory conditioning began immediately. There were medical charts tracking something called integration percentage. It started at 30% 6 months ago and progressed slowly, 45%, 52%, 61%, 70%. The last entry, dated 3 weeks ago, showed 89%. Nearly complete. I was going to be sick. My hands fumbled through more documents. Found a contract written in formal pack law language. I, Ember Ashford, being of sound mind and facing imminent death, do hereby agree to undergo the transformation ritual in exchange for life-saving treatment and sanctuary within the Cresthowl Pack. I understand that this ritual will gradually replace my memories and identity with those of the deceased Lunar Seraphina Cresthowl. I understand that this process is irreversible and will result in the complete erasure of my former self. I understand that resistance to the process may result in psychological harm or death. I enter into this agreement willingly and of my own free will. My signature was at the bottom. Shaky, desperate, but unmistakably mine. I'd agreed to this. I'd chosen to be erased. The door opened behind me. I wondered how long it would take you to find this room. I spun around. Damon stood in the doorway, still in sleep clothes, his hair disheveled. He didn't look angry. He looked resigned. You were watching me, I said. I've had to watch you very carefully since the ritual started failing. He stepped into the room and closed the door. The accident 3 weeks ago wasn't an accident, Seraphina. Or should I call you Ember? I'm honestly not sure anymore. I held up the contract. I agreed to this. To let you erase me. You were dying, Damon said quietly. You had weeks to live, maybe days. You came to me because you'd heard rumors that I was looking for someone who could replace my dead mate. You offered yourself in exchange for healing. That's insane. That's desperation. He moved closer, and I resisted the urge to back away. You'd lost everything, Ember. Your pack was slaughtered. Your family was dead. You'd been alone in the wilderness for 2 years, slowly dying from silver poisoning because you couldn't afford a healer and no pack would take you in. You had nothing to live for. So I chose to stop being me. My voice was rising. I chose to become a ghost wearing someone else's life. You chose to live, Damon corrected. And in exchange, you gave my son a mother. You gave my pack a Luna. You gave me. He stopped, his jaw working. You gave me hope that I could move past Seraphina's death. By replacing her with a fake. By trying to heal, he said firmly. Both of us. You knew what you were signing up for, Ember. The ritual was explained in detail. Your memories would fade gradually, replaced by Seraphina's. Your personality would shift. Eventually, you would believe you had always been her. And you'd have a life worth living instead of dying alone in the woods. I looked down at the integration charts. It was working. Until 3 weeks ago. Until you started fighting back, Damon confirmed. Your original memories began resurging. Breaking through the conditioning. The healers called it catastrophic rejection. Your mind was essentially tearing itself apart trying to be both Ember and Seraphina at the same time. So you put me in a coma. We had to stabilize you before the conflict killed you. His voice was defensive now. The healers said the only way to save your life was to let your mind choose which identity would survive. We hoped Seraphina would win. That you'd wake up fully integrated. But Ember won, I said slowly, understanding dawning. That's why I don't remember being your wife. Because I never was. I was just pretending, and my real self finally broke free. Damon's face crumpled. I know how this looks. I know it seems like I used you, manipulated you. But you have to understand. Understand what? I cut him off, anger flooding through me. That you were so obsessed with your dead wife that you found someone desperate enough to play dress-up. That you performed an illegal ritual to brainwash a dying woman into replacing her. What exactly am I supposed to understand, Damon? That I gave you a choice, he shouted back. You came to me, remember? You sought me out. You offered this arrangement. I didn't force you. I didn't kidnap you. You walked into this with your eyes open. I was dying. Yes. And I gave you an alternative to death. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. Was it selfish? Absolutely. Did I have my own motives? Of course I did. But I also saved your life. The silver poisoning would have killed you in agony. I gave you 5 more months. Months where you laughed and played with Ash and ran through the forest and felt safe for the first time in years. Don't pretend that was nothing. I wanted to argue, but he wasn't wrong. The journals had shown a woman who seemed content, even happy. Ember had gotten to rest. To heal, at least physically. But at what cost? Why did it fail? I asked. Why did my memories start coming back? Damon's expression turned guarded. We don't know for certain. Liar. He flinched. There was an incident. A month ago. Someone from your past showed up at the border asking about a woman matching your description. We turned them away, but you saw them from a distance. After that, the integration percentages started dropping. Who was it? We don't know. They gave a false name and left before we could question them properly. But you have an idea. His silence was answer enough. I looked down at the photograph I was still holding. The woman in the leather jacket staring at the camera with defiant eyes. I want to see her, I said. The real Seraphina. I want to see what I was supposed to become. Why? Because she's haunting me. I met his eyes. I'm wearing her life like a costume, living in her house, sleeping in her bed, mothering her child. I deserve to know who I'm supposed to be pretending to be. Damon studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Come with me. He led me out of the office and down a hallway I hadn't explored yet. We stopped in front of a set of double doors at the end of the corridor. This was her private studio, Damon said, pulling out a key. I've kept it locked since she died. No one's been inside except me. The doors swung open to reveal a bright, airy room filled with paintings. They covered every wall, stacked on easels, propped against furniture. Seraphina had been an artist. And she'd been talented. Most of the paintings were landscapes, forest scenes rendered in stunning detail. But along one wall were portraits. Pack members, I assumed. Damon. Infant Ash. And self-portraits. I walked to the wall, studying Seraphina's face painted over and over from different angles. She looked like me, yes. The same bone structure, similar features. But she was softer. Gentler. There was a kindness in her painted eyes that I'd never seen in my own reflection. She was beautiful, I said quietly. Yes. Damon's voice came from behind me. And brilliant. And compassionate. She spent hours in the Pack's medical center, helping heal injured wolves. She taught reading to children whose parents couldn't afford tutors. She was everything a Luna should be. And I'm not. No. He said it gently but firmly. You're not. Ember was a survivor, a fighter. Hard edges and sharp instincts. Seraphina was soft in all the places you're hard. Which is why the integration was so difficult. You're fundamentally different people. I turned to face him. Then why did you think it would work? Because I was desperate enough to believe anything. He moved to one of the paintings, touching the frame gently. When Seraphina died, something broke in me. I couldn't function. Couldn't lead. My pack was suffering because their alpha was drowning in grief. Ash was asking for his mother every night, and I had nothing to tell him except that she was gone forever. He looked at me with raw, devastating honesty. When I heard about the possibility of the ritual, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was playing with forces we shouldn't touch. But I also knew I'd do anything to make the pain stop. To give Ash his mother back. To have her face across from me at dinner again, even if it wasn't really her. So you found someone desperate enough to agree. I found someone who wanted to disappear as badly as I wanted Seraphina back, he corrected. You came to me with the idea, Ember. You'd heard the rumors. You researched the ritual. You wrote out the contract terms. This wasn't just my manipulation. It was our mutual delusion that we could both get what we wanted. I stared at him, trying to reconcile the desperate, broken man in front of me with the alpha who'd systematically erased someone's identity. What happens now? I asked. Now that I know the truth. That depends on you, Damon said. The healers say the integration won't work anymore. Your original memories are too strong. We can't make you into Seraphina. But we also can't safely extract Seraphina's memories without risking your life again. So I'm stuck being neither of us. You're stuck being both. He moved closer, his voice urgent. You have Ember's core identity and survival instincts. But you also have Seraphina's memories, her experiences over the last 5 months. You remember loving Ash, even if you don't feel it the same way now. You remember this house, this pack, this life. I remember living a lie. You remember being safe, Damon countered. Being cared for. Having a purpose. Don't tell me that meant nothing. I wanted to argue. Wanted to rage at him for what he'd done, what we'd both done. But standing in Seraphina's studio, surrounded by her art and her memory, I felt something unexpected. Grief. Not for her, exactly. For the woman I'd been trying to become. For the life I'd almost had. For the escape from pain that had been so close before my own mind had sabotaged it. I can't stay here, I said. Not like this. Not knowing what I know. Damon's face went white. If you leave the territory, the residual magic from the ritual could kill you. You're still too fragile. I don't mean leave, I interrupted. I mean I can't keep playing house. Can't keep pretending to be your wife and Ash's mother. That woman is dead, Damon. Both versions of her. Then who are you? The question hung in the air between us. Who was I? Not Ember, not anymore. Too many of her memories were gone, replaced by Seraphina's. But not Seraphina either. I'd never really been her, just a desperate woman wearing her skin. I don't know, I admitted. But I need to figure it out. And I can't do that while everyone around me is calling me by a dead woman's name. Damon nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Space. Time. And the truth. All of it. No more secrets, no more manipulation. If I'm going to decide what to do with this life, I need to know exactly what happened to both of us. Okay. He took a deep breath. Okay. I'll tell you everything. But Ember, there are things you need to know. Dangerous things. The person who showed up at the border asking about you, they weren't the only one. Someone has been looking for you. Someone from your past. And they're getting close. A chill ran down my spine. Who? I don't know. But whoever they are, they know about the ritual. They know what we did. And I think they're the reason your integration failed. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. It was taken from a distance, grainy security camera footage. It showed a figure in dark clothes standing at the edge of pack territory, looking toward the house. Looking toward my window. The same figure I'd seen last night. They've been coming every few nights for the past month, Damon said. Always staying just beyond the border where we can't legally pursue them. Always watching. Always waiting. For what? For you to remember, I think. His voice was grim. For the ritual to fail completely. For you to become Ember again. Why? That's what I need you to help me figure out. He met my eyes, and I saw real fear there. Because whoever they are, whatever they want, I don't think it's to rescue you. I think they're here to finish what the rogues started 2 years ago. They're here to kill me. Before Damon could respond, an alarm shrieked through the house. Guards started shouting. Footsteps thundered in the hallways. Damon's phone lit up with an emergency alert. Border breach, he said, his voice going cold and alpha. North side. Multiple hostiles. He looked at me, and in that moment, I saw the ruthless leader he must be when his pack was threatened. Stay here, he commanded. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me or Marcus. He ran from the room, leaving me alone in the dead Luna's studio. The alarms kept wailing. And through the window, I could see smoke rising from the northern forest. Someone was attacking. Someone was coming for me. And I still had no idea if they were here to save me or destroy me. Chapter 4, The Confession. I didn't stay in the studio. Everything in me, every survival instinct that was purely Ember and not borrowed from Seraphina's gentle memories, screamed at me to move. To assess the threat. To understand what was happening. I ran back to the master bedroom and grabbed the leather jacket from the closet. It felt right in a way nothing else in this house did. Real. Mine. The letters from M were still in the pocket. I pulled them out and shoved them into my jeans, then moved to the window. The northern forest was burning. Not a wildfire, but strategic fires set in a perimeter pattern. Whoever was attacking knew what they were doing. They were creating a distraction, drawing guards away from the main house. Which meant the real attack was coming from somewhere else. I heard a crash downstairs. Breaking glass. Shouts. They were already inside. My wolf surged forward, finally present, finally awake. She'd been quiet for so long, hiding, but now she was ready to fight. I felt my canines lengthen, claws extending from my fingertips. The bedroom door exploded inward. A man stood in the doorway, dressed in black tactical gear, his face covered by a mask. He was huge, easily 6.5 feet of pure muscle. "There you are," he said, his voice a gravelly rumble. "We've been looking for you, little sister." "Sister. M. Marcus," I whispered. He pulled off the mask, and I saw a face that was stranger but somehow achingly familiar. Square jaw, dark hair, green eyes that were identical to the ones I saw in the mirror every morning. "Close," he said. "Mason. Your actual brother. Though I'm touched you remembered the initial." My mind was reeling. Brother. I had a brother. Not a sister like I'd thought from the letters. "The letters," I said stupidly, "were the only way I could reach you once the ritual started," Mason confirmed. He moved into the room, checking the hallway behind him. "I've been trying to get you out for months. But Damon's security is thorough, and you were too far gone. You wouldn't have come with me even if I'd asked. You didn't remember me." "I still don't," I admitted. Pain flashed across his face. "I know. The healers said the integration went too far. You might never get all of your memories back. But you're fighting it now. That's what matters. That's why I had to move tonight." "You're attacking the pack." "I'm rescuing my sister," he corrected. "And we need to go. Now. My team can only hold them off for so long." I backed away. "I can't leave the territory. The residual magic from the ritual is a lie. Damon told you to keep you trapped." Mason's voice was hard. "Yes, the ritual is dangerous. Yes, leaving before it's fully broken could hurt you. But it won't kill you. I have healers waiting who specialize in this kind of magic. They can help you safely." "How do I know you're telling the truth?" He pulled something from his pocket and tossed it to me. A photograph, old and creased. It showed 2 children, maybe 8 and 10 years old, grinning at the camera with identical green eyes. The girl had her arm around the boy's shoulders. On the back, in childish handwriting, "Ember and Mason, best friends forever." I stared at the photo, at the little girl who was me, and felt something crack in my chest. Not a memory, exactly. More like an echo of one. A feeling of safety and love and belonging. "We were close," Mason said quietly. "Inseparable. When the rogues attacked our pack, I was away at alpha training. I came home to find everyone dead and you gone. I searched for 2 years before I found out Damon had you. I came to him willingly," I said, but my voice was uncertain. "You came to him dying and desperate," Mason corrected angrily. "He took advantage of that. He knew you were vulnerable, knew you'd agree to anything to survive. And instead of just healing you, instead of giving you sanctuary like any decent alpha would, he turned you into a replacement for his dead wife." Footsteps pounded in the hallway. Mason pulled a gun from his belt. "We're out of time," he said. "You need to decide right now, Ember. Come with me and maybe get your life back, or stay here and definitely lose what's left of yourself. Choose." The door burst open again. Damon stood there with 3 guards, all armed. He took in the scene, Mason with his weapon, me with the photograph still in my hand. Step away from her, Damon growled, his alpha power rolling through the room like thunder. Mason didn't move. She's coming with me. Like hell she is. Damon's eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising to the surface. You have no claim on her. She's my Luna. She's my sister, Mason snarled back. And you stole her. Brainwashed her. Turned her into a puppet. I gave her a choice. You gave her an ultimatum. Die alone or become your dead wife. Mason's hands were shaking with rage. You knew she was too broken to think clearly. You exploited her grief and trauma for your own selfish purposes. And what are you doing right now? Damon shot back. Attacking my pack. Burning my territory. Terrorizing my people. You're no better than the rogues who destroyed your pack in the first place. Mason flinched like he'd been struck. Stop, I said. My voice came out quiet but firm. Both men turned to look at me. Both of you, stop. I looked at Damon, at the desperation in his eyes. Then at Mason, at the grief and hope warring in his expression. 2 men who both claimed to want what was best for me. 2 men who'd both lied to me in different ways. I need the truth, I said. All of it. No more games, no more manipulation. Damon, you said you'd tell me everything. Start talking. Damon's jaw worked. Not in front of him. Yes, in front of him, I insisted. He's my brother. He has a right to know what happened to me. He's a terrorist who just attacked my pack. I'm family, Mason interjected coldly. Which is more than you can say. Enough. I stepped between them, and something about my tone made them both go quiet. Maybe it was Serafina's lunar authority. Maybe it was Ember's survivor instincts. Maybe it was just me, whoever I was, finally claiming some power. Damon, lower your weapon, I said. Mason, you too. We're going to talk like civilized people, or I'm walking out of here and neither of you will ever see me again. It was a bluff. I had nowhere to go. But they didn't know that. Slowly, grudgingly, both men lowered their guns. Good, I said. Now. Damon, you told me I came to you willingly. That I knew what the ritual would do. Was that true? Yes, Damon said immediately. He's lying, Mason said. Let him talk, I snapped. Damon, what exactly did I agree to? Damon took a deep breath. 6 months ago, you showed up at my border. You were dying from silver poisoning, barely conscious. My guards brought you to the healers, and they stabilized you enough to talk. You said you'd heard I was looking for someone to replace Serafina. You offered yourself in exchange for healing. Just like that. A dying stranger shows up and offers to become your wife. Not just like that, Damon admitted. You'd researched me. You knew about Serafina's death. You knew about Ash. You said you understood what I needed and you could provide it. All you wanted in return was to stop hurting. And you believed her. Mason demanded. A dying woman shows up spouting exactly what you want to hear, and you don't question it. I questioned everything, Damon said, his voice sharp. I had my people investigate. We found records of the Ashford Pack massacre. Found evidence that Ember had been living as a rogue for 2 years. Everything she told me checked out. What did she tell you? I asked. Damon's expression softened. You said you were tired. Tired of running, tired of surviving, tired of being alone. You said you'd lost everyone who mattered and you didn't want to be yourself anymore. The pain was too much. You wanted to be someone else. Someone who had a purpose and a family and a reason to wake up in the morning. The words hit me like a physical blow because they felt true. I could imagine feeling that way. Could imagine being so broken that erasure seemed like mercy. So you made her into Serafina, Mason said bitterly. I gave her a new life, Damon corrected. I explained the ritual in detail. Told her it would be gradual, that her memories would fade over time and be replaced with Serafina's. That eventually she'd believe she'd always been my wife. I gave her a week to think about it. She could have left at any time. But she didn't, I said quietly. No. She signed the contract. She underwent the first treatment willingly. Damon's voice was pained. And for 5 months, it worked. You seemed happy, Ember. Or Seraphina. Whatever name you want to use. You bonded with Ash. You learned to be Luna. You smiled and laughed and seemed at peace for the first time since you'd arrived. Until I started fighting back, I said, remembering the integration charts. The percentages dropping. Until someone started interfering, Damon said, his eyes cutting to Mason. Someone kept showing up at the border. Leaving notes. Trying to trigger your original memories. I was trying to save her, Mason said through gritted teeth. You were destroying the peace she'd fought so hard to achieve, Damon countered. She chose this, Mason. She wanted to forget. And you kept trying to make her remember. Because she deserved to know who she really was. She knew, Damon insisted. She made an informed choice to let Ember die and become Seraphina. You're the one who couldn't respect that. I felt like I was being torn in half. Both of their arguments made sense. Both of them believed they were doing the right thing. The accident, I said. 3 weeks ago. What really happened? Damon and Mason exchanged a look. Tell me, I demanded. You tried to leave, Damon said finally. You'd packed a bag. You were going to run. Marcus caught you at the border, tried to bring you back. There was a struggle. You fell and hit your head. I was escaping, I said slowly. You were confused, Damon corrected. The conflicting memories were tearing you apart. You didn't know what you wanted. Did I say anything? Before I fell? Damon's silence was damning. What did she say? Mason pressed. She said she wanted to go home, Damon admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. She said this wasn't her life. That she needed to find her brother. That she couldn't do this anymore. The words hung in the air like an indictment. So you locked her in a coma, Mason said flatly. I saved her life, Damon shot back. The healers said the psychological break would have killed her. The only way to stabilize her was to let her mind shut down and reboot. And you hoped she'd wake up as Seraphina, I said, understanding clicking into place. You hoped Ember would be gone for good. I hoped you'd wake up at peace, Damon said. One way or another. Either fully integrated as Seraphina, or with your original memories restored. I just wanted you to stop hurting. Liar, Mason spat. You wanted your perfect replacement back. You didn't care which woman survived as long as she played her role. That's not true. Then why did you panic when she woke up as Ember? Mason challenged. Why all the photos and journals and carefully constructed proof? You were trying to manipulate her all over again. I was trying to help her remember a life that made her happy. You were trying to gaslight her into believing a lie. Enough, I shouted. Both men fell silent, breathing hard, staring at each other with hatred. I looked at Damon. Do you love me? The real me, Ember, not the Seraphina you tried to create. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Struggled for words. I don't know, he finally admitted. I don't know who the real you is anymore. You're both. You're neither. I fell in love with Seraphina 5 years ago. I watched her die. Then I met Ember and saw her slowly become Seraphina again, and I let myself hope. But you're right. I don't know Ember. I never really tried to. I just wanted my wife back. The honesty hurt worse than a lie would have. I turned to Mason. And you? Do you want Ember back because you miss your sister? Or because you can't accept that she chose to leave? Mason's face twisted with grief. Both, he said rawly. I miss you so much it's killing me. But I also can't stand the thought that you were so broken you'd rather die than be yourself. If I'd been there, if I'd found you sooner, maybe you wouldn't have been desperate enough to agree to this. This is my failure as much as his crime. 3 weeks ago, I tried to run. Tried to escape this life. The woman I'd been, some hybrid of Ember and Seraphina, had known this wasn't right. But what did I want now? An explosion rocked the house. The lights flickered. Sir, one of the guards said urgently to Damon. The fires are spreading. We need to evacuate the civilians. Go, Damon told him. Then to Mason, call off your attack. People are going to die if this keeps up. Let her go with me, and I'll call it off immediately, Mason countered. I'm not negotiating my wife's freedom with a terrorist. I'm not your wife, I said quietly. Both men turned to stare at me. I'm not Serafina, I continued. She's dead. She's been dead for over a year. And I'm not Ember either. Not completely. That woman died the day she signed your contract, Damon. I'm something else now. Something neither of you planned for. What are you saying? Damon asked, his voice strained. I pulled out the letters from my pocket. Mason's letters. Years of pain and love and desperate attempts to reach me. Then I looked at the room around us. Serafina's room. Full of her things, her life, her memories that had been forcibly planted in my head. I'm saying I need time, I said. Time to figure out who I am without either of you telling me. Time to sort through what's real and what was manufactured. Time to decide what I want instead of what you both think I should want. You can't stay here, Mason said immediately. And I'm not running off with you, I replied. You're a stranger to me, Mason. Yes, you're my brother. Yes, you wrote beautiful letters trying to save me. But I don't remember you. I don't remember our childhood or our pack or anything that would make me trust you over Damon. I can help you remember. No, I cut him off. No more people trying to control my memories. No more rituals or magic or manipulation. I need to heal naturally, on my own terms. Then what do you want? Damon asked. I thought about Ash, crying because his mother didn't recognize him. About the pack members who'd welcomed me home. About the life I'd been living for 5 months, the happiness that might have been manufactured but felt real in the moments. And I thought about the leather jacket, the letters, the woman in the photographs who'd survived hell and kept going. I want the truth about everything, I said. About Serafina's real death. About how you found me, Damon. About our pack, Mason, and what really happened that night. No more secrets. No more lies. And then, Damon pressed. And then I'll decide where I belong. I met his eyes. If I belong anywhere at all. Chapter 5, The Bargain. The fires were still burning when we moved downstairs to Damon's office. Mason had called off his team, but they remained at the border, ready to attack again if I gave the signal. I wouldn't. Whatever else was happening, innocent pack members didn't deserve to die because of this mess. Damon had sent guards to check on Ash and the other civilians. They'd been evacuated to the safe houses on the southern end of the territory. My heart had clenched when I'd heard. Not with the overwhelming maternal love Serafina would have felt, but with genuine concern for a child caught in the crossfire of adult mistakes. Maybe that was something. Now we sat in a tense triangle, Damon behind his desk, Mason in the chair across from him, me standing by the window watching smoke drift through the trees. Let's start with Serafina, I said, not turning around. How did she really die? Damon was quiet for a long moment. The official story is true. Rogues attacked during a border patrol. She was killed defending the children at the pack nursery. But, I prompted. But the attack was too convenient, Damon admitted. Too targeted. They went straight for the nursery, straight for her. Like they knew exactly where she'd be and when. Someone told them, Mason said. It wasn't a question. I suspected as much. But I could never prove it. Damon's hands clenched on the desk. I investigated for months. Questioned everyone who'd been on duty that day. Looked into every pack member who might have had a grievance. Found nothing. Or someone covered their tracks very well, I said. The healers said she died from blood loss, Damon continued, his voice hollow. Multiple wounds. She lived long enough for me to reach her. Long enough to tell me she loved me and to take care of Ash. Then she was gone. I heard the pain in his voice. Whatever else he'd done, whatever crimes he'd committed in his grief, his love for Serafina had been real. You buried her in the pack cemetery? I asked. Yes. Full lunar honors. The whole pack mourned for months. Damon looked up at me. I mourned. Don't let Mason convince you I didn't care. I loved her, Ember. Losing her destroyed me. Then why replace her? Mason demanded. If you loved her so much, why not just grieve and move on like a normal person? Because I had a 4-year-old son asking me every night when Mama was coming home, Damon snapped. Because my pack was falling apart without a Luna. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw her bleeding out in my arms and I couldn't make it stop. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. You want to judge me? Fine. I was weak. I was selfish. I couldn't handle the pain, so I looked for a way to make it stop. When I heard about the memory transfer ritual, I knew it was wrong. Knew it was dangerous. But I was desperate enough to try anyway. How did you even find out about it? I asked. That kind of magic is forbidden. Has been for centuries. There's a witch, Damon said. Myra. She specializes in memory magic. Helps traumatized wolves forget their worst experiences. Usually small things. A bad car accident. Witnessing violence. She's helped dozens of pack members over the years. But you asked her for something bigger, Mason said. I asked her if it was possible to transfer a complete identity. To make someone believe they were someone else. Damon wouldn't meet our eyes. She said yes, but it would require a perfect genetic match and a willing participant. The ritual would be gradual, taking months to fully integrate. And it would be irreversible. And then conveniently, a dying woman who looked exactly like your dead wife showed up, Mason said skeptically. How lucky for you. I know how it sounds, Damon said. But I swear I didn't orchestrate it. Ember's arrival was pure chance. Was it? I asked, turning to face him. Mason, you said you'd been searching for me for 2 years. How did Damon find me when you couldn't? Mason's jaw tightened. I want to know that too. Damon returned to his desk and pulled out a file. My scouts patrol the Northern Territories regularly. 6 months ago, one of them reported finding a rogue female near the mountain pass. She was unconscious, suffering from severe silver poisoning and exposure. They brought her here for treatment. He slid the file across the desk. Inside were medical reports, photos of me unconscious in the healing center, notes from the attending healers. The silver poisoning was advanced, Damon continued. You had maybe 2 weeks left. The healers did what they could, but silver damage to that degree is usually fatal. You needed specialized care we didn't have. So you made her an offer she couldn't refuse, Mason said bitterly. I offered her a choice, Damon corrected. When you woke up, Ember, I told you the truth about what I wanted. I showed you pictures of Seraphina, explained the ritual, laid out exactly what it would mean. You had a week to decide. A week, I repeated. While dying. Yes, Damon admitted. I'm not proud of the timeline. But you were running out of time. If you wanted to live, we needed to start treatment immediately. I picked up the file, studying the photos. The woman in them looked half dead already. Gaunt, pale, covered in silver burns that had turned septic. Why was I poisoned? I asked Mason. What happened to me after our pack died? Mason's expression was anguished. You went feral. When I finally found witnesses who'd seen you, they said you'd been living alone in the wilderness, avoiding all packs. You got into a fight with rogues about a year ago. They used silver weapons. You managed to kill them, but not before they wounded you badly. And I just wandered around dying for a year. You refused help, Mason said. Every time I got close, you'd run. You didn't trust anyone. Didn't want to join another pack. I think part of you wanted to die. Wanted to join our family. The words hurt because they rang true. I could imagine being that broken. That done with living. So I showed up here by accident, I said. Collapsed in Damon's territory by chance. Or fate, Damon said quietly. You can call it manipulation if you want. But from my perspective, the moon goddess put you in my path for a reason. You needed healing. I needed hope. It seemed like an answer to both our prayers. Except you were praying to erase someone, Mason snapped. I was praying for my son to have a mother, Damon's alpha power rolled through the room. You weren't there, Mason. You didn't see Ash crying himself to sleep every night. Didn't see him flinch every time he saw a woman with dark hair because for a second he thought it was Serafina. He was traumatized and I couldn't fix it because I was drowning in my own grief. He took a shaky breath. When Ember agreed to the ritual, when she started integrating Serafina's memories, Ash began to heal. He laughed again. Played again. Started sleeping through the night. For the first time since Serafina died, my son was okay. So yes, I'm selfish. Yes, I used Ember. But I saved my son. And I'd do it again. The raw honesty in his voice made my chest tight. Tell me about the ritual, I said. Exactly what happened. Damon opened another file. Myra needed samples from both you and Serafina. We used blood and hair from Serafina's brush that I'd kept. From you, we took samples while you were still unconscious. Myra used them to create a potion you'd drink daily. It would gradually suppress your original memories while implanting Serafina's. How did you get Serafina's memories? Mason asked. She'd been keeping detailed journals for years, Damon explained. Myra used them as a template. The potion would feed you the information, and your brain would gradually accept it as your own experience. Like learning a role so thoroughly you forget you're acting. Brainwashing, Mason said flatly. Memory reconstruction, Damon corrected. And Ember agreed to all of it. Did I asked. Or did a dying woman agree because she saw no other option? Damon finally met my eyes. I don't know. I've asked myself that question every day for 6 months. Did you truly want this, or were you just too broken to fight? I'll never know for sure. But you signed the contract. You took the first dose. And for 5 months, you seemed genuinely happy with your choice. I thought about the journals upstairs. The woman who'd written about loving Ash, about finding peace in pack life, about finally feeling like she belonged somewhere. Had that been me? Or had that been Serafina's memories speaking through my pen? When did it start going wrong? I asked. About a month ago, Damon said. You started having nightmares. Waking up confused, not knowing where you were. You'd forget pack members' names, forget events you should remember. The integration was supposed to be smooth, but something was causing it to fragment. Someone, Mason interjected. I started leaving notes for her. Anything that might trigger Ember's real memories. Old pack songs. Inside jokes. References to our childhood. You were torturing her, Damon accused. She'd read your notes and have panic attacks. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. You were making her worse. I was trying to wake her up. You were tearing her apart. Damon slammed his hand on the desk. The healers said the conflicting memories were creating a psychological crisis. She was having seizures, blackouts. Her wolf was going feral from the confusion. So you put her in a coma, I said. I had no choice. Damon's voice cracked. You were dying again, Ember. The ritual was killing you. Myra said the only way to save your life was to let your mind reset. To see which identity would survive the reboot. And you hoped it would be Serafina. I hoped it would be whichever version could survive, Damon said. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted you to live. I studied his face, looking for lies. Found only exhaustion and grief. What happens now? I asked. If I stay here, can the ritual be reversed? Myra says it's possible, Damon admitted. But dangerous. Removing Serafina's memories could cause permanent damage. You might lose chunks of the last 6 months. Might lose more than that. There's no way to predict what would survive. And if I leave with Mason? The residual magic might cause problems, Damon said. But Mason's right. It probably won't kill you. You'd need specialized healers to help you untangle the memories. It could take months or years. You might never fully recover who you were before. So my choices are stay here and risk losing myself again, or leave and risk losing my mind, I said. There's a third option, Damon said carefully. Which is? You stay, but not as Serafina. He stood, moving around the desk toward me. You be yourself. Whoever that is. We stop the integration process. No more potions, no more memory manipulation. You keep whatever memories you have from both identities and build something new. Here, Mason said incredulously. You want her to stay in the place where you violated her mind? I want her to have stability while she heals, Damon said. She knows this pack. Knows this territory. She has Ash, who loves her. She has resources and protection. Where would she go with you, Mason? Back to the Northern Territories where she almost died. To live as a rogue again. She'd be free, Mason insisted. She'd be alone, Damon countered. Ember, think about this. You don't remember Mason. You barely remember your old pack. What would you be going back to? Strangers and ghosts. Family, Mason said fiercely. She'd be going back to family. I looked between them. Both so certain they knew what was best for me. Both unable to see that their certainty was part of the problem. I need to see her, I said suddenly. What? Damon asked. Seraphina. I need to see her grave. The men exchanged glances. Why? Mason asked. Because she's haunting all of us, I said. And I need to understand who she was before I can figure out who I am. Damon nodded slowly. Okay. I'll take you at dawn. We'll both take you, Mason said. Fine, I agreed. But tonight, I need time alone. No guards, no handlers, no one trying to influence me. I need to think. That's not safe, Damon protested. Then make it safe, I said. Post guards outside, monitor the perimeter, whatever you need to do. But I'm spending tonight alone in that studio upstairs, and I'm going to sort through this mess without either of you hovering. For a moment, I thought Damon would argue. Then he sighed. Okay. But Mason stays at the border. I'm not having him inside my territory all night. Agreed, Mason said. But if anything happens to her, Damon, if she so much as gets a paper cut, I'm burning this place to the ground. Noted, Damon said coldly. I left them glaring at each other and climbed the stairs to Seraphina's studio. Surrounded by her paintings, her art, her vision of the world, I finally let myself cry. For the woman she'd been. For the woman I'd almost become. For the woman I was now, caught between two identities and belonging to neither. And for the first time since waking up, I prayed to the moon goddess. Not for answers. Not for guidance. Just for the strength to survive whatever came next. Chapter 6, The Impossible Choice. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Seraphina's studio, surrounded by her paintings, and tried to piece together who she really was. Not the perfect Luna from the journals. Not the beloved wife from Damon's stories. The real woman who'd lived and breathed and bled in this house. Her self-portraits were the most revealing. In the early ones, painted years ago based on the dates in the corners, she looked uncertain. Young. Her eyes held questions she didn't have answers for. But the later portraits showed someone different. Confident. Regal. A woman who'd grown into her role as Luna and found strength in it. The last portrait, dated 2 weeks before her death, was different from all the others. She'd painted herself standing in a forest, but her back was to the viewer. Like she was walking away from something. Or toward something. The trees around her were twisted, dark, threatening. And in the corner, almost hidden in the shadows, was another figure. Just a suggestion of a shape. Watching her. I pulled the canvas down and turned it over. On the back, in Seraphina's handwriting. Sometimes I feel like I'm being hunted. A chill ran down my spine. I spent the rest of the night going through everything in the studio. Found more journals hidden in a locked drawer. These were different from the ones Damon had shown me. More personal. More afraid. Someone's been in my room again. I know because the books on my nightstand are in a different order. Damon says I'm paranoid, that I moved them myself and forgot. But I know what I know. I think someone in the pack wants me dead. I can feel it. The way certain wolves look at me. The way conversations stop when I enter a room. I told Marcus. Damon's beater. He's the only one who takes me seriously. He said he'd investigate quietly, that we can't accuse anyone without proof or it could tear the pack apart. I'm scared. For me. For Ash. For what might happen if I'm right. The final entry was dated the day before she died. Marcus found something. Evidence of a conspiracy. He's bringing it to me tonight after Damon leaves for the Alpha Summit. He says once I see it, we'll know who to trust. I pray he's right. I pray this nightmare ends soon. But I have a terrible feeling that I'm running out of time. She'd known. Serafina had known someone was going to kill her. And Marcus, the beater, had been investigating. The same Marcus who'd caught me trying to escape 3 weeks ago. Who'd been there when I fell. Who'd been staying close for security reasons ever since. I stood abruptly, my heart pounding. Marcus had been Damon's beater for years. He was supposed to be loyal. But Serafina had trusted him with information about a conspiracy. And then she died before Marcus could show her his evidence. Either Marcus had failed to protect her, or he'd been part of it. I needed to find Marcus. Needed to see his reaction when I asked him about Serafina's last journal entry. If he was innocent, he'd want to help me understand what happened. If he was guilty, I needed to know before he had a chance to finish what he'd started. I grabbed the journal and headed downstairs. The house was quiet at this hour, just before dawn. Most of the pack would still be sleeping after the chaos of yesterday's attack. But I found Marcus exactly where I expected. In the hallway outside my bedroom, standing guard. He straightened when he saw me. Luna. You should be resting. I need to talk to you, I said. About Serafina. Something flickered in his eyes. What about her? I held up the journal. She trusted you. She told you someone in the pack wanted her dead. She said you were investigating. Marcus's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I said, stepping closer. I have her journals. I know she came to you the day before she died. I know you promised to bring her evidence. Those journals were supposed to be destroyed, Marcus said quietly. The admission hung in the air between us. Who ordered you to destroy them? I asked, though I already knew. Alpha Damon thought it would be easier for you. For the integration. If you didn't read about Serafina's paranoia and fear, Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. He wanted you to remember her as happy, at peace. He wanted to erase the parts that were inconvenient, I corrected. The parts that raised questions about her death. Her death was investigated thoroughly, Marcus said. The council ruled it was a rogue attack. No conspiracy. No murder. But you don't believe that. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then, come with me. He led me through the house to a part one hadn't explored yet. Down a flight of stairs to what looked like a basement level. Security was tighter here. Coded locks. Guards at every checkpoint. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere Damon doesn't know about, Marcus said. He used his security code to open a reinforced door. Inside was a small room lined with filing cabinets and evidence boards. I never stopped investigating, Marcus admitted. Even after the council closed the case. Even after Damon ordered me to let it go. Serafina was my friend. She deserved justice. The evidence board was covered in photos, documents, timelines. Red string connecting various pieces of information. Show me, I said. Marcus moved to the board. Serafina was right. Someone in the pack wanted her dead. But it wasn't random. It was calculated. Planned months in advance. He pointed to a series of financial documents. 3 months before her death, someone started embezzling from the pack treasury. Small amounts at first. Then larger. Serafina was Luna. She would have noticed eventually when she reviewed the books. So they killed her before she could expose them, I said. That's my theory. But I can't prove who was behind it. Marcus tapped a list of names on the board. These are the pack members who had access to the treasury. Any one of them could have been responsible. I scanned the list. Saw names I recognized from the pack roster. Business managers. council members, and Damon's name. The Alpha has full access to all pack finances, Marcus said, following my gaze. I didn't want to believe it. But technically, he's a suspect too. You think Damon killed his own wife for money? I think someone killed her to hide their crimes, Marcus said carefully. Whether that was Damon or someone else, I don't know. But the timing is suspicious. Serafina dies. The investigation is rushed. The council rules it an accident before I can present my evidence. And then 6 months later, Damon brings in a replacement. You think the whole thing was planned, I said slowly. Kill Serafina, cover it up, bring in someone who wouldn't ask questions. I think it's possible, Marcus admitted. But I also think Damon genuinely loved her. The grief I saw when she died, you can't fake that. So either he's innocent and someone manipulated him into covering up the investigation, or he's the best actor I've ever met, I finished. Marcus nodded grimly. That's why I've been watching you so carefully, Ember. When you started fighting the integration, when you started asking questions, I was afraid history would repeat itself. That whoever killed Serafina would kill you too. Is that why you were at the border the night I tried to escape? His expression turned pained. Yes. I followed you because I was worried. When I tried to bring you back, you fought me. Said you remembered something. Something about Serafina's death. What did I say? You said you saw it in her memories. The moment she died. You said it wasn't rogues. Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. You said it was someone she trusted. Someone close. And then you collapsed. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. The ritual transferred Serafina's memories to me, including her final moments. Which means somewhere in your head, you know who killed her, Marcus said. And whoever did it knows that too. They can't let you remember. A sound from the doorway made us both spin around. Damon stood there, his face a mask of cold fury. I see you've been busy, Marcus, he said quietly. How long have you been running this little investigation behind my back? Since the day you ordered me to stop looking for the truth, Marcus said, not backing down. Someone murdered your wife, Damon. Don't you want to know who? I know exactly who, Damon said, his eyes flashing gold. Rogues attacked. Serafina died. The council investigated and found no evidence of conspiracy. You're seeing shadows because you can't accept that sometimes bad things just happen. Or you're covering for someone, Marcus challenged. Why did you rush the investigation? Why did you shut down every lead I tried to follow? Unless you knew what I'd find. I shut you down because you were tearing the pack apart with paranoid accusations. Damon's alpha power rolled through the room. We were grieving. Traumatized. We needed to heal, not chase conspiracy theories. They're not theories, I said, holding up Serafina's journal. She knew someone wanted her dead. She documented it. Damon's eyes locked on the journal. Where did you find that? In her studio. The one you told me to stay in last night. I opened to the last entry. She was meeting Marcus the night before she died. He was bringing her evidence of a conspiracy. What happened to that evidence, Marcus? Marcus's face went pale. I never got the chance to show her. She died before our meeting. Convenient, Damon said coldly. What are you implying? Marcus demanded. That maybe you were the threat all along, Damon said. You had access to the treasury. You were close to Serafina. You could have killed her to prevent her from exposing you, then spent the last year running a fake investigation to cover your tracks. That's insane. Marcus protested. Is it? Damon moved into the room, circling Marcus like a predator. You're the one who found her body. You were first on the scene. How do I know you didn't stage the whole thing? Because I loved her. Marcus shouted. She was my friend. I would never. Everyone says that, Damon interrupted. Right up until they pull the trigger. I watched them face off, each accusing the other, and realized something that made my blood run cold. I had Serafina's memories. Somewhere in my head, buried under the integration and the confusion and the memory blocks, I knew what had happened to her. I knew who'd killed her. I just had to remember. I closed my eyes and reached for Serafina's memories. They were there, tangled with my own, hard to separate. But I pushed past Ember's experiences, past my own life, searching for hers. Found the nursery. Children playing. Serafina watching them with a gentle smile. Then alarm bells. Shouts. Rogues breaking through the perimeter. Serafina ushering children toward the safe room. Defending them with everything she had. Claws and teeth and desperate strength. A rogue lunging at her. Pain exploding in her side. Blood, so much blood. But she fought on. Killed the rogue. Saved the children. And then, a figure in the doorway. Not a rogue. Someone familiar. Someone trusted. Walking toward her while she bled out on the floor. "I'm sorry," the figure said. "But you know too much." I gasped, my eyes flying open. Both men were staring at me. "Ember," Damon said carefully. "What's wrong?" "I remember," I whispered. "I remember who killed her." The temperature in the room dropped. "Who?" Marcus demanded. I looked between them. One of them was a murderer. One of them had killed Serafina and then helped Damon replace her with me. But which one? It was someone she knew, I said slowly, watching their reactions. Someone she trusted. They came to the nursery after the rogues attacked. They watched her die. Damon's face went white. "That's not possible." I checked every pack member's location during the attack. Everyone was accounted for. "Not everyone," Marcus said quietly. "You were at the Alpha Summit. You weren't here. Are you accusing me?" Damon's voice was dangerous. "I'm saying you can't account for your own whereabouts," Marcus pointed out. "The summit was 3 hours away. You could have left, come back, killed her, and returned before anyone noticed. Why would I kill my own wife?" "To cover up the embezzlement," I said, the pieces clicking together. Serafina was reviewing the books. She would have found the discrepancies. Unless. I trailed off, a new thought occurring to me. Unless what? Marcus pressed. Unless she already found them, I said. What if she confronted the person responsible? What if that's why they killed her? I looked at Damon. Did Serafina talk to you about the pack finances before she died? His silence was damning. She did, I said, understanding. She found the embezzlement. She told you about it. And you? I told her I'd handle it, Damon said, his voice strained. She showed me the evidence. I promised I'd investigate quietly. I didn't want to cause a panic in the pack. And then she died before you could follow through, Marcus said. Yes, Damon admitted. And in the chaos of her death, I never finished the investigation. I was too destroyed to care about money. Or too guilty, Marcus suggested. I didn't kill her, Damon roared, his wolf rising to the surface. I loved her. I would never. Then who did? I challenged. Who else knew about the embezzlement? Who else had a reason to silence her? Damon's face crumpled. I don't know. I've asked myself that question every day for over a year. I've investigated quietly. Watched everyone. Tried to figure out who betrayed us. But I found nothing. Because you were looking in the wrong place, a new voice said from the doorway. We all turned. Mason stood there, his face grim. You were so focused on pack members, you never considered the possibility that the threat came from outside. What are you talking about? I asked. Mason pulled out a folder and tossed it on the evidence board. I've been investigating too. Trying to understand what happened to my sister. I tracked down some of the rogues who attacked your pack, Damon. The ones who survived. There were no survivors, Damon said. We killed them all. You killed the ones who attacked the nursery, Mason corrected. But there was a second group. Scouts, watching from the forest. They saw everything. He opened the folder, revealing interrogation transcripts. The rogues were hired, Mason said. Someone paid them to attack your pack. Specifically to target the nursery. They were told to kill everyone inside and make it look random. Who hired them? Marcus demanded. Mason pulled out a bank statement. Payments to a shell company. Traced back through multiple accounts. The final name made my blood freeze. No, Damon whispered. The payments came from a Cresthowl Pack account. But not Damon's. Not the main treasury. A private account belonging to Damon's younger brother. Elder Thorn. Thorn's not my brother, Damon said, but his voice was shaking. He's my uncle. My father's younger brother. Who's next in line for the alpha position if you have no heir, Mason said quietly. Damon staggered backward like he'd been struck. Ash. He wanted to kill Ash. He wanted to eliminate your bloodline, Mason explained. Seraphina was collateral damage. She wasn't supposed to be at the nursery that day. But when she showed up to defend the children, the rogues had to kill her too or risk her identifying them. And Thorn's been on the council this whole time, Marcus said, fury in his voice. Watching. Waiting. Probably planning his next move. I thought about the elder I'd seen in passing. A distinguished older wolf with silver hair and kind eyes. He'd welcomed me home warmly. He'd murdered Seraphina. Where is he? Damon asked, his voice deadly calm. That's the problem, Mason said. He left the territory last night. Right after the attack. My team tried to track him, but he had a head start. He knows, I realized. He knows I have Seraphina's memories. He knows I saw him that night. Did you? Marcus asked urgently. Did Seraphina see Thorn at the nursery? I closed my eyes again, reaching for the memory. The figure in the doorway. But the face was blurred. Hidden in shadow. I couldn't make it out. I can't see him clearly, I admitted. Either Seraphina died before she could identify him, or the memory integration corrupted that part. Then we need to find another way to prove it, Damon said. He was changing before our eyes. The grieving husband falling away, replaced by the cold, calculating alpha. Marcus, pull Thorn's financial records. Everything. I want to know every transaction he's made in the last 2 years. On it, Marcus said, already moving. Damon turned to Mason. Your rogues. The ones you interrogated. Will they testify? For the right price, Mason said. But testimony from rogues won't be enough. The council will demand harder proof. Then we'll get it, Damon said grimly. He looked at me, and I saw determination burning in his eyes. Ember, I need you to try to remember. I know it's painful. I know the memories are tangled. But if Seraphina saw anything, any detail that could help us identify Thorn as the killer, we need it. I'll try, I said. But even as I spoke, I felt something shifting in my mind. The memories were fragmenting. Breaking apart. The integration was failing completely. I gasped as pain lanced through my skull. Fell to my knees. Ember. Both Damon and Mason lunged for me. Something's wrong, I managed through gritted teeth. The memories. There. I screamed as my mind tore itself apart. I was Ember, dying in the snow. I was Seraphina, bleeding in the nursery. I was both. I was neither. I was breaking. The last thing I heard before darkness claimed me was Damon shouting for the healers. And somewhere in the chaos of my fragmenting mind, a voice whispered, "Let go. Let her go. Choose who you want to be." Chapter 7, The Memory Witch. I woke in the healing center with Myra standing over me. The witch was younger than I expected. Maybe 30, with silver-white hair and eyes that seemed to see straight through to my soul. "Welcome back," she said. Again. I tried to sit up, but my head spun. "Easy," Myra cautioned. "Your mind has been through a traumatic event. The integration collapsed completely. You're lucky to be conscious at all." "What happened?" My voice came out raspy. "You tried to access traumatic memories from Seraphina while your identity was still unstable," Myra explained. "It triggered a catastrophic rejection. Your mind essentially declared war on itself, trying to expel the foreign memories while simultaneously clinging to them." "Am I dying?" "Surprisingly, no." Myra pulled up a chair and sat a day. "Your mind made a choice. It chose synthesis over separation. I don't understand." "You're not Ember anymore," Myra said gently. But you're not Seraphina either. You're something new. A fusion of both identities. You have Ember's core personality and Seraphina's accumulated experiences. You're both women, and you're neither. You're you. I processed this slowly. So I'll never get my original memories back. Some of them are still there, buried deep. But trying to separate them from Seraphina's would kill you. Myra studied me carefully. The question is, can you live with that? Could I? I thought about Ember. The woman who'd survived hell and kept going. The sister Mason mourned. And I thought about Seraphina. The Luna who'd loved Ash. Who'd painted beautiful art. Who'd died trying to protect children. I don't have a choice, I said. You always have a choice, Myra corrected. I can try to extract the memories. It's dangerous, possibly fatal. But if you'd rather die as yourself than live as a hybrid, I'll respect that. I looked around the healing room. Saw Damon through the window, pacing in the hallway. Saw Mason beside him, equally agitated. Two men who both cared about me in different ways. And I thought about Ash. The little boy who'd lost his mother and didn't deserve to lose another one. I want to live, I said quietly. As whoever I am now. Myra smiled. Good. Then let's talk about Thorn. I blinked at the subject change. What? The elder who killed Seraphina, Myra said. He's been trying to kill you too. Did you wonder why the integration failed so dramatically? My blood ran cold. What did he do? Myra stood and moved to a table covered with medical equipment. Picked up a vial of dark liquid. This was in your morning tea yesterday, she said. A potion designed to destabilize the integration. Cause memory fragmentation and psychological collapse. In large enough doses, it would have killed you. Someone's been poisoning me. For weeks, Myra confirmed. Ever since you started fighting the integration. Thorn knew you had Seraphina's memories. He was afraid you'd remember seeing him that night. So he tried to kill you before you could. How do you know it was Thorn? Because he came to me 3 weeks ago, Myra said. Asked me to create something that would help stabilize the Luna's condition. I refused, of course. Told him I wouldn't make poison. But apparently, he found another witch who was less scrupulous. She handed me the vial. I analyzed this after your collapse. It's complex. Well made. Whoever created it knew exactly what they were doing. Can you trace it back to the witch who made it? Already did, Myra said with satisfaction. Her name is Corvina. She's a dark practitioner who works out of the Shadow Peak Pack. I've already sent word to their alpha about her activities. Will that be enough to prove Thorn's guilt? Combined with Mason's evidence and Marcus's investigation? It should be. Myra helped me sit up. But there's one more thing you need to know. What? The poison didn't just destabilize the integration. It also unlocked something. Myra tapped my forehead gently. A memory Seraphina had suppressed. Something so traumatic, she buried it deep and tried to forget. What did she see? I don't know. But it's there now, accessible if you're brave enough to look. Myra's expression turned serious. Before you do, you should know, this memory broke Seraphina. It's why she was paranoid in those last weeks. Why she was afraid. Whatever she saw, it destroyed her sense of safety. I thought about the self-portrait. Seraphina walking into dark woods, being hunted. She knew Thorn was going to kill her, I said slowly. She saw something that proved it. Then you need to see it too, Myra said. But not alone. This kind of memory retrieval requires an anchor. Someone to pull you back if you get lost in the trauma. Damon. Not Damon, Myra interrupted. This needs to be someone Ember trusts, not someone Seraphina loved. The memories are too tangled with Damon. You need emotional distance. Mason, I said. Myra nodded. Your brother. Yes. He can anchor you. She opened the door and called him in. Mason rushed to my bedside, his face etched with worry. You're awake, he breathed. Thank the goddess. I thought. I'm okay, I said. Then, because it felt true, I'm not exactly Ember anymore. But I'm not Seraphina either. I'm something in between. Mason studied my face carefully. Do you remember me? Our childhood. Fragments, I admitted. Flashes. I remember feeling safe with you. Remember laughing. But the details are gone. Pain flickered across his face, but he nodded. That's enough. As long as some part of you knows I'm family. I need your help, I said. I explained about the suppressed memory. About needing an anchor. Mason didn't hesitate. Whatever you need. Myra gave us instructions. Mason would hold my hand, keep talking to me, remind me of who I was. If the memory became too overwhelming, he'd pull me out. Ready? Myra asked. I squeezed Mason's hand. Do it. Myra placed her hands on my temples and began to chant. The world around me faded, and I fell into Seraphina's last suppressed memory. It was 2 weeks before her death. Seraphina was in Damon's office late at night, reviewing financial records like she did every month. She found the discrepancies. Money missing from the treasury. Small amounts at first, then larger. Someone was embezzling. She started cross-referencing accounts, tracking the money. Found it flowing into a shell company. Then another. Then another. Finally, she traced it to the source. A private account belonging to Elder Thorn. But the embezzlement was just the beginning. As she dug deeper, she found correspondence. Encrypted messages Thorn had been careless enough to leave on the Pack server. Messages to rogue alphas. Planning. Coordinating. Arranging an attack. The heir must be eliminated, one message read. Make it look like a random attack. Kill everyone in the nursery. No witnesses. Seraphina sat at the desk, shaking, staring at proof that Thorn was planning to murder her son. She heard footsteps. Too late, realized she wasn't alone. Thorn stood in the doorway. I see you've found my little project, he said calmly. You're planning to kill children, Seraphina whispered, horror in her voice. I'm planning to secure my legacy, Thorn corrected. Damon's bloodline has held the alpha position for 3 generations. It's time for a change. Time for my line to rule. I'll tell him, Seraphina said, reaching for her phone. I'll tell everyone what you're planning. No, Thorn said simply. You won't. He moved with supernatural speed. Grabbed her wrist. Squeezed until she dropped the phone. Here's what's going to happen, Thorn said, his voice pleasant despite the violence. You're going to forget you saw this. You're going to delete those files. And you're going to keep your mouth shut. Never, Seraphina spat. Then you'll die with your son, Thorn said. The attack is already planned. Already paid for. It happens in 2 weeks whether you cooperate or not. But if you stay quiet, I'll make sure the rogues spare Ash. He's young enough to be molded. I'll raise him as my own, tell him his parents died tragically. He'll never know the truth. And if I don't stay quiet, then I make sure the rogues kill him slowly, Thorn said. While you watch. Before they kill you. Seraphina stared at him, trapped. If she told Damon, Thorn would accelerate his plans. If she stayed silent, maybe she could find another way to stop him. I need time, she said finally. To think about this. You have until the attack, Thorn said, releasing her wrist. 2 weeks. Use them wisely. He left her there, shaking, desperate. And Seraphina had spent those 2 weeks searching frantically for a way to save her son. She'd contacted Marcus, asked him to investigate quietly. She'd documented everything she'd found. She'd prepared evidence to present to the council. But she'd run out of time. The attack came. She'd rushed to the nursery, determined to defend the children no matter what. And Thorn had been there in the chaos, making sure she didn't survive to tell anyone what she knew. I gasped, jerking out of the memory. Mason was there, gripping my hand, his face pale. Did you see it? He asked urgently. Everything, I whispered. She knew. Seraphina knew Thorn was planning to kill Ash. She was trying to stop him. Myra was already recording my testimony, documenting every detail. This is enough, she said. Combined with everything else, this will convince the council. We need to find Thorn, I said, sitting up. The room spun, but I pushed through it. He's still out there. Still a threat. Already done, Damon said from the doorway. He looked different. Harder. His alpha presence filled the room like a physical force. Marcus tracked him to a safe house near the border, Damon continued. We have him surrounded. But I wanted you awake before we brought him in. You deserve to confront him. I met his eyes. Saw grief there. And rage. And a determination that made me believe he'd burn the world down to protect Ash. Let's end this, I said. Chapter 8. The Alphas Stand. The safe house was a cabin deep in the woods, right at the edge of Cresthowl territory. By the time we arrived, Marcus had it completely surrounded with guards in wolf form, creating an impenetrable perimeter. Thorn wasn't getting out. I rode with Damon in his SUV, Mason following in a separate vehicle with his team. The tension in the car was thick enough to choke on. I should have seen it, Damon said quietly, his hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. He's been part of my inner circle for years. How did I miss this? He's had years of practice hiding it, I said. And you trusted him. That's not a weakness, Damon. It is when it gets the people I love killed. His voice cracked slightly. Seraphina tried to protect Ash. She died trying to stop Thorn. And I was too blind to see the threat right in front of me. You see it now, I said. That's what matters. We pulled up to the perimeter. Marcus approached immediately, all business. He's inside. Alone as far as we can tell. We've been monitoring heat signatures, just one person moving around. Marcus handed Damon a radio. He knows we're here. He's been watching from the windows. Good, Damon said, his alpha voice emerging. I want him to see exactly what's coming for him. He turned to me. You don't have to go in there. You can wait here while we... No, I interrupted. I need to face him. Both of us do. I touched my chest, meaning both Ember and Seraphina. We both deserve to look him in the eye. Damon studied me for a moment, then nodded. Stay behind me. If anything goes wrong. I know how to fight, I said. And I did. Both Ember's survival instincts and Seraphina's lunar training were there, woven together. I'm not helpless. Mason joined us, armed and ready. I'm coming too. This is pack business, Damon said. She's my sister, Mason countered. That makes it my business. For a moment, I thought Damon would argue. Then he just nodded. Fine. But you follow my lead. This is still my territory. We approached the cabin in a triangle formation, Damon in front, me and Mason flanking him. The guards held their positions, ready to attack on command. Damon kicked the door open. Thorn sat in a chair by the fireplace, a glass of whiskey in his hand, looking for all the world like he was relaxing on a normal evening. Nephew, he said pleasantly. I wondered when you'd figure it out. You killed my wife, Damon said, his voice deadly quiet. You tried to kill my son. I tried to save this pack, Thorn corrected, taking a sip of his drink. You were weak, Damon. Distracted by love and family. The pack needed a strong alpha. I would have been that alpha. You would have been a murderer on a throne built of blood, I said, stepping forward. Thorn's eyes locked on me. Ah. The replacement. Tell me, do you even know which one you are? Ember or Seraphina? Or have you become so confused you don't know anymore? I'm both, I said. I have Seraphina's memories. I know what you did. What you threatened her with. Then you know I gave her a choice, Thorn said. Stay quiet, and I'd spare the boy. She chose to be a hero instead. That's on her. Damon moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was beside me, the next he had Thorn by the throat, lifted clear off the ground. You threatened my son, Damon snarled, his wolf fully present now, eyes blazing gold. You killed my wife. Give me one reason I shouldn't rip your throat out right now. Because you need me, Thorn choked out, somehow still smiling. You think I acted alone? I have allies, Damon. Powerful ones. Kill me, and you'll never know who they are. We already know about Corvina, I said. The witch who made the poison. She's being dealt with. Corvina is nothing, Thorn said. A hired hand. I'm talking about pack members. Wolves you trust. Wolves who believe as I do that your bloodline is too weak to lead. Damon's grip tightened. Names. Now. Kill me, and you'll never get them, Thorn gasped. But make a deal with me, let me live, and I'll give you everyone. I saw the conflict in Damon's face. The desire for vengeance warring with his need to protect the pack. His lying, Marcus said from the doorway. Or bluffing. We've been monitoring communications. If there was a conspiracy this big, we'd have found evidence. Unless they're smarter than you, Thorn said. Which, let's face it, isn't difficult. Marcus's eyes flashed dangerously. Let me talk to him, I said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at me. Alone, I added. Absolutely not, Damon said. He wants to manipulate someone, I said. Let him try with me. I have Seraphina's memories. I know his tactics. And unlike her, I'm not afraid of him. It was true. Standing there, looking at this man who'd orchestrated so much pain, I felt no fear. Just cold determination. Ember's survival instinct and Seraphina's protective fury had merged into something sharp and dangerous. I was done being a victim. 5 minutes, Damon said finally. We'll be right outside. You scream, we come in. He released Thorn, who collapsed back into his chair, rubbing his throat. The men filed out reluctantly, leaving me alone with the murderer. Thorn composed himself, smoothing his clothes. Clever. Getting me alone. Do you think I'll confess to you? Bare my soul to the tragic hybrid? I think you're desperate, I said, sitting in the chair across from him. And desperate people make mistakes. I'm not desperate. I'm pragmatic. Thorn poured himself more whiskey. I've already won, in a way. Even if you execute me, the seeds of doubt are planted. Damon will spend the rest of his rule wondering who else might betray him. Paranoid. Weak. Eventually, someone else will finish what I started. Unless we root out all your allies first. You'll never find them all. Thorn smiled. I've been planning this for years. Built relationships, made promises, convinced the right wolves that change was necessary. Some of them don't even know they're working for me. They think they're just concerned pack members questioning Damon's leadership. Why? I asked. Why do all this? What did Damon do to you that was worth murdering innocent people? Thorn's smile faded. He exists, he said simply. My brother, Damon's father, was alpha before him. I was older, stronger, more experienced. But the pack chose him because of bloodline. Because tradition said the oldest son inherits. So this is about jealousy. This is about justice, Thorn corrected. I've watched inferior alphas rule this pack for generations, chosen by birth instead of merit. I would have been a better leader than my brother. I would be a better leader than Damon. But I was never given the chance. So you decided to take it by force. I decided to correct a mistake, Thorn said. Damon is soft. Weak. He let grief paralyze him when Seraphina died. He brought you in, a stranger, and tried to turn you into her because he couldn't function without her. That's not strength. That's pathetic dependency. He loved her. Love makes you weak, Thorn said. It's a vulnerability. An exploitable weakness. A true alpha doesn't need love. He needs power, strategy, the will to do what's necessary. I studied him, this man who'd twisted himself into something monstrous through years of resentment and entitlement. You're wrong, I said quietly. Love didn't make Seraphina weak. It made her brave. She spent her last 2 weeks desperately trying to save her son. She died defending children who weren't even hers. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing anyone can do. And look where it got her, Thorn said. Dead in a pool of her own blood. Yes, I agreed. Dead because of you. Because you were too cowardly to challenge Damon honorably. You couldn't beat him in fair combat, so you attacked his family instead. You're not strong, Thorn. You're pathetic. Thorn's composure cracked. Watch your tongue, girl. You're nothing but a broken rogue playing dress-up in a dead woman's life. I'm the woman who's going to make sure you never hurt anyone again, I said, standing. And I'm the one who's going to convince the council to give you exactly what you deserve. The council won't execute me without a trial, Thorn said, but I heard the uncertainty creeping into his voice. And I have rights. Pack law guarantees. Pack law guarantees a fair trial to pack members, I interrupted. But you're not a pack member anymore. The moment you hired rogues to attack your own pack, you became a traitor. And traitors have no rights. I moved to the door, then paused. Oh, and Thorn? Your allies. We already know who most of them are. Marcus has been monitoring communications for months. We let you run free long enough to identify everyone in your network. By morning, they'll all be in custody. Thorn's face went white. You're lying. Am I? I smiled, and it felt like Seraphina's diplomatic smile and Ember's feral grin merged into something new. Something dangerous. I guess you'll find out. I opened the door. Damon and Mason were waiting, along with a dozen guards. He's all yours, I told them. And he's not nearly as clever as he thinks he is. 3 hours later, we gathered in the pack's council chamber. Not just our pack, but representatives from the 5 regional territories, summoned by Damon for an emergency session. Thorn sat in chains at the center of the room, flanked by guards. Alpha Rowan Bloodmore from the Northern Territories spoke first. These are serious charges, Alpha Damon. Murder, conspiracy, treason. The council requires substantial proof. Damon nodded to Marcus, who began presenting evidence. Financial records. The interrogated rogue's testimony. Corvina's confession, obtained by the Shadow Peak Alpha. The encrypted messages Seraphina had found. And finally, my testimony. I stood before the council and recounted Seraphina's suppressed memory in detail. Every word Thorn had said. Every threat he'd made. This is hearsay, one of Thorn's appointed defenders argued. A memory from a dead woman, filtered through a damaged mind. It proves nothing. It corroborates everything else, Marcus countered. The financial evidence, the rogue testimony, the poison, it all points to Elder Thorn. The council deliberated for 2 hours. Finally, Alpha Rowan stood. We find Elder Thorn Cresthowl guilty of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, treason against his pack, and crimes against innocent children. The sentence is death by Alpha challenge. Thorn's face went grey. No. I demand a trial by. You have no rights here, Rowan interrupted coldly. You betrayed your pack. You are no longer one of us. Damon stood, his alpha presence filling the entire chamber. I claim the right of execution as the wronged alpha. Granted, Rowan said. What happened next was brutal and swift. Damon shifted into his wolf form, massive and black as midnight. Thorn tried to shift too, tried to defend himself, but age and fear made him slow. It was over in less than a minute. I watched without flinching. Both Ember and Seraphina agreed, Thorn deserved this. More than this. When it was done, when Thorn's body lay broken on the council chamber floor, Damon shifted back. It's finished, he said quietly. But I knew it wasn't. Not really. Because as the council dispersed, as guards removed the body, I realized I still had a choice to make. Who was I going to be now? And where did I belong? Chapter 9, The Luna Rises. The days after Thorn's execution were a blur of political aftermath. Marcus's investigation had been thorough. We identified 7 pack members who'd been part of Thorn's conspiracy, wolves who'd been promised positions of power in exchange for supporting his eventual coup. They were all exiled, stripped of their pack bonds and sent away as rogues. The embezzled money was recovered and redistributed to pack programs. The financial systems were overhauled with new oversight. And slowly, painfully, the pack began to heal. I spent those days in a strange limbo, neither guest nor true pack member. I stayed in the master bedroom but Damon slept in the guest room. I saw Ash daily but never promised to be his mother. I attended pack functions but didn't claim the title of Luna. I was waiting. Deciding. On the 5th day, Mason found me in Serafina's studio. Beautiful work, he said, gesturing to the paintings. She was talented. She was, I agreed. I can see her painting these. Feel the brush in my hand, the satisfaction of getting a color exactly right. But I also know they're not my memories. Not really. Does it matter? Mason asked. If the memories feel real. I don't know anymore. I set down the painting I'd been studying. That's the problem. I don't know what's real and what was manufactured. I don't know if the feelings I have are mine or hers or some confused mixture. Mason moved to stand beside me, looking out the window at the forest. I've been thinking about that. About identity and memory and what makes us who we are. And I think you're overthinking it, he said gently. You're not Ember. You're not Serafina. You're whoever you choose to be right now, in this moment. The past doesn't define you unless you let it. Easy for you to say. You know who you are. Do I? Mason turned to face me. I spent 2 years searching for my sister. Building my entire identity around finding her, saving her, bringing her home. And now you're here, but you're not the Ember I remember. So who am I if I'm not your protector anymore? I hadn't thought about it from his perspective. I'm sorry. Don't be. He smiled sadly. I'm figuring it out. Just like you are. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we're both allowed to be new people. Would you want me to come back north with you? I asked. If I choose to leave here? Mason considered the question carefully. Honestly, part of me desperately wants that. Wants to have my sister back, even a version I don't fully recognize. But another part knows you'd be coming for the wrong reasons. You'd be running away instead of running toward something. What if I don't know what I'm running toward? Then stay here until you do, Mason said. I'll be around. Visit when you want. But don't make this choice because you feel obligated to me. Make it because it's what you truly want. After he left, I sat in the studio for hours, thinking. Eventually, there was a knock on the door. Come in, I called. Ash peeked around the doorframe, his small face uncertain. Are you busy? My heart, both Ember's and Serafina's, softened. Never too busy for you. Come here. He climbed into the chair beside me, his legs too short to reach the floor. For a while, we sat in comfortable silence. Are you going to leave? He asked finally, his voice small. I don't know yet, I answered honestly. I'm trying to figure out where I belong. You belong here, Ash said with the absolute certainty only a child can have. With me and Daddy. It's more complicated than that, sweetheart. Why? He turned to look at me with those amber eyes so like his father's. You're here. We're here. That's not complicated. I'm not your real mother, I said gently. Your real mother, Serafina, she died. I know I look like her, but I'm someone different. I know, Ash said. You're Ember. Daddy told me. And that doesn't bother you. He thought about it seriously. I miss my first mama. A lot. But she's gone, and she's not coming back. You're here. And even if you don't remember being my mama before, you could be my mama now. If you wanted. The simple logic undid something in my chest. You're a very wise kid, I said, my voice rough with emotion. Daddy says I get it from my mama, Ash said. Then, carefully, both of them. I pulled him into a hug, this child who'd lost so much and somehow remained so resilient. He wrapped his small arms around my neck and held on tight. I'm scared, I admitted. I'm scared of staying and losing myself again. And I'm scared of leaving and losing you. Then don't leave, Ash said, like it was the simplest thing in the world. Maybe it was. That night, I asked Damon to meet me in the library. He arrived looking cautious, like he was expecting bad news. Maybe he was. I've made a decision, I told him. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Okay. I'm staying, I said. But not as Serafina's replacement. Not as your wife. Not as some hybrid creature trying to be two people at once. Then as what? As myself. I took a deep breath. I want to stay and help the pack. I have skills, both from Ember's survival experience and from Seraphina's lunar training. I can be useful. But I need time and space to figure out who I am without everyone projecting their expectations onto me. I can give you that, Damon said immediately. I'm not finished, I continued. I also need you to annul our marriage. Officially. Publicly. Whatever bond we had was based on a lie. I won't live my life pretending to be your dead wife. Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. I understand. But, I said, and his eyes snapped back to mine. I'm not saying never. I'm saying not now. If you and I are ever going to have something real, it has to be built from scratch. You need to know me as I am now, not as who you hoped I'd become. And if I still want that? Damon asked quietly. If I want to try. Then you caught me like a normal person, I said. No magic, no manipulation, no trying to reshape me into what you lost. You get to know Ember Seraphina, whoever the hell she is. And I get to decide if I want to let you in. A slow smile spread across Damon's face. I can do that. Good. I moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Damon? I'm going to be training pack security with Marcus. Teaching them Ember's guerrilla tactics combined with Seraphina's strategic knowledge. I'm going to be involved in pack business as an advisor, not as decoration. If that's a problem. It's not, Damon interrupted. Seraphina always wanted to be more involved in security matters. I was the one who held her back, thought I was protecting her. I won't make that mistake again. Then we have a deal, I said. I started to leave, but Damon caught my hand. Thank you, he said. For staying. For giving this pack another chance. For giving me another chance. Thank Mason, I said. He's the one who reminded me that I get to choose who I want to be. And I choose to be someone who doesn't run from hard things anymore. Still, Damon said, his voice soft. Thank you. Both of you. Ember and Seraphina. For being brave enough to become someone new. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony overlooking the pack grounds, watching the full moon rise. So much had changed. The pack was stronger than ever, unified by surviving Thorn's betrayal. Marcus had been promoted to head of security, implementing the new training protocols I'd designed. The treasury was healthy and transparently managed by a committee instead of one person. And Ash was thriving. He called me Ember Memar now, his own special name for the woman who was neither his birth mother nor a stranger. We'd found our own rhythm, our own relationship built on honesty instead of magical manipulation. Mason visited monthly, and slowly, carefully, we were rebuilding our sibling bond. He told me stories about our childhood, and while I didn't fully remember them, I enjoyed hearing them. Learning who Ember had been helped me appreciate who I was now. And Damon. Mind if I join you? I smiled as he stepped onto the balcony, 2 glasses of wine in hand. Only if you brought the good stuff. Nothing but the best for my favorite security advisor, he said, handing me a glass. 6 months of courtship. Of getting to know each other without the weight of Seraphina's ghost between us. Of learning to be friends first, partners second. It was working. Slowly, but it was working. Ash asleep? I asked. Finally. He wanted you to tuck him in, but I told him you were working on next month's training schedule. Damon leaned against the railing beside me. He's convinced you're a superhero. Kids have low standards. Or very high taste, Damon countered. He was quiet for a moment, then, I got the annulment papers today. Officially finalized. Good, I said. And meant it. Closing that chapter felt right. So, Damon said carefully, now that I'm legally single and you're legally not my wife anymore. Would you consider having dinner with me? Like a real date. Not a strategic planning session disguised as a meal. I pretended to think about it. Depends. Where would we go? There's a new restaurant in the neutral territory. Gets great reviews. I thought we could try it next Saturday. Just the 2 of us. Just us, Damon confirmed. No pack business. No crisis management. Just 2 people getting to know each other. I turned to face him fully. In the moonlight, he looked younger, less burdened. 6 months of healing had been good for him too. Okay, I said. It's a date. The smile that broke across his face was worth everything I'd been through to get here. Really? Really? I held up my glass. To new beginnings. He clinked his glass against mine. To becoming who we're meant to be. We stood together under the full moon, drinking wine and talking about nothing important. And for the first time since waking up in that hospital bed with no memories, I felt completely at peace. I was Ember Seraphina. A fusion of two women, a survivor and a Luna, strong and broken and healing all at once. I had a brother who was learning to love this version of me. A son who accepted me exactly as I was. And maybe, eventually, I'd have a partner who'd chosen me freely instead of trying to resurrect a ghost. It wasn't the life I'd planned. It wasn't the life either Ember or Seraphina had imagined. But it was mine. And that was enough. Epilogue. 1 year later. The ceremony was simple. No grand declarations. No political maneuvering. Just two people who'd fought through hell and decided they wanted to try building something real together. Mason walked me down the aisle, his arm steady and strong. You sure about this? He whispered. As sure as I've ever been about anything, I whispered back. Ash stood beside his father as best man, practically vibrating with excitement. He'd been planning this wedding for months, insisted on picking out the flowers himself. The pack gathered to witness, but this time it felt different. They weren't here for political alliance or duty. They were here because they'd come to know me as I truly was. Not Seraphina returned, but Ember Seraphina emerged. Something new and unexpected. When I reached the altar, Damon took my hands. His eyes were bright with unshed tears. I love you, he said simply. Not who you were. Not who I tried to make you. Just you. Exactly as you are. I love you too, I replied. And meant it with both hearts beating in my chest. Myra officiated, her magic lending weight to our vows. But this time, there would be no memory manipulation. No spells to make us into something we weren't. Just two broken people choosing to heal together. I, Ember Seraphina, I said, using the name I'd claimed for myself, take you, Damon Cresthowl, as my partner. To build something new with. To face the future with. For however long we both choose this. I, Damon Cresthowl, he replied, take you, Ember Seraphina, as my partner. To honor who you are. To support who you're becoming. For however long we both choose this. No forever promises. No assumptions of eternal love. Just a commitment to choose each other, every day, for as long as it felt right. It was the most honest vow I could imagine. When we kissed, the pack erupted in cheers. Ash launched himself at us, wrapping his arms around both our legs. Finally, he declared. Now you're officially my mama. I was always your mama, I told him, ruffling his hair. The ceremony just made it legal. Later, at the reception, I found myself standing in Seraphina's studio one last time. I'd been slowly transforming it, adding my own paintings alongside hers. My style was different, rougher, wilder, but together, our work created something beautiful. A memorial to who she'd been and a celebration of who I'd become. Beautiful, a voice said from the doorway. I turned to find an older woman I didn't recognize. She had kind eyes and silver hair, and something about her felt familiar. I'm sorry, I said. Do we know each other? Not yet, she said with a gentle smile. But I knew Ember. Years ago, before the massacre. I was a friend of your mother's. My breath caught. You knew my family? Very well. She moved into the studio, studying the paintings. Your mother would be proud of you. What you've survived. Who you've become. I barely remember her, I admitted. Just fragments. That's okay, the woman said. Memories fade. But love remains. Your mother loved you fiercely. That love is still part of you, even if you can't remember the details. She handed me a small box. This was your mother's. She asked me to keep it safe, give it to you when the time was right. I think now is that time. Inside was a silver pendant shaped like a wolf howling at the moon. On the back, an inscription. For Ember. May you always find your way home. Tears streamed down my face as I fastened it around my neck. Thank you, I managed. The woman smiled. Thank you for surviving. For becoming who you needed to be. Your mother would have loved both versions of you. She left as quietly as she'd arrived, leaving me alone with my mother's gifts. The pendant from my birth mother. The paintings from the woman who'd almost become me. Both parts of my heritage. Both pieces of my soul. I touched the pendant and looked at Seraphina's paintings and felt whole for the first time. I was Ember Seraphina. Survivor and Luna. Sister and mother. Wife and warrior. All of it. None of it. Something entirely new. And I'd finally found my way home. The end. If you made it this far, drop a comment and let me know what you thought. Did Ember Seraphina's journey move you? What would you have done in her place? And don't forget, I want to know where in the world you're watching from. Your support means everything. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.